Australia is set to more than double the number of ships in its navy.
Right now, the Royal Australian Navy has 11 warships. As a result of the government's response to the Surface Fleet Review, today we are committing to take that number to 26.
Canberra will commit an extra $7 billion to its defense budget for this plan. It's the latest move by Australia to beef up its navy in recent years, following the signing of the AUKUS Defence Pact with the UK and US in 2021. That deal will provide Australia with nuclear submarines. Now, to learn more about Australia's naval revamp, Ed Moon spoke to Matthew Sussex of the Griffith Asia Institute.
Australia has committed to more than doubling the size of its naval surface fleet and spending an extra $7 billion on defence. Can you tell us why it's made that decision, and has Beijing's increasing naval power in the region got anything to do with it?
This is the government responding to a sort of surface fleet review, which came out of the recent Australian DSR, Defence Strategic Review process, which really said that Australia needed to reorient around a maritime and littoral type of defence force, and saying that its current armed forces really weren't fit for purpose. So the reason for this massive upsurge is, of course, fundamentally linked to China, but it's about also addressing a regional environment which I think pretty much everybody can appreciate is becoming quite dangerous, quite complex, and quite fluid. The revamp includes, in fact, downscaling some of the frigates that Australia was going to be buying, the Hunter-class frigate, and going for something, a design that's a bit lighter instead, but capable of carrying, more missiles.
Will Australia's beefed up Navy allow it to work more closely with the United States?
They're fairly interoperable already. It's interesting to note that that the review of the Australian surface fleet was conducted by a former American admiral. So it just goes to show how close those ties are. I think the desire from Canberra is to have as close as possible integration with US warfighting as possible, but also to some extent, I think, as well, having a big enough naval fleet that can stand up, to medium-sized regional scenarios. Whereas I think in the past, I think one of the criticisms that could be levied at Australia is that it may have talked loudly, but it carried a relatively small stick.
The South China Morning Post recently reported that the US has got 5 carrier fleets operating in the Pacific, which is 2 more than it usually has. Can you tell us why you think the US has decided to beef up its presence in the region?
I think it's designed to send a message to both Beijing, as well as allies and partners, and potentially also to Pyongyang as well. And I think the message to Beijing is, don't forget that we are a very sizable military power, that we have a large number of aircraft carriers, and that we can deploy 5 out of 11 within the Indo-Pacific theatre. Now, the message I think it's attempting to send to allies is one of reassurance, where the United States has been certainly very interested in and actively involved in what's been going on in the Middle East. And with an election year coming up and jitters about the types of commitments that the United States might make to friends and partners,